So I'm going to go through the bio that I saw on the American Public Works Association website.
Terrific.
All right, so let's do that. Bill Stowe is the Public Works Director for the City of Des Moines. He is also Senior Operations Leader for all municipal infrastructure and services surrounding a Public Works Department, over 600 full-time employees.
Yes, ma'am.
And then overseeing budgets and the capital budget, and then city streets and refuse collection, storm and sanitary sewers, and regional wastewater reclamation.
Right.
Okay. I get the feeling my audience probably already knows all this, but for the people that don't know, I'm going to go on. And you deal with city council and business and labor leaders?
On a daily basis.
Okay. And you deal with the infrastructure of complex aged city and the state capital. Are we an aged city?
Well, certainly by Iowa standards. We're obviously, Iowa kind of settled in the east and moved west, and we're in the middle, so we're not as old as Dubuque and Davenport and Keokuk and Burlington, the Mississippi River communities, but we're certainly relatively aged, and in Des Moines, certainly compared with everything around us, Polk Cities, the Cummins, the West Des Moines, we would be an older city and with older city infrastructure and kind of some unique problems because of that. On the water side, Des Moines has what's called combined sewers, where 100 years ago it was the standard to mix rainwater and human sewage together and basically throw it to the rivers. We're burdened in 2010 by a system that still has that basic premise, particularly in the older part of the city like this. We're downtown, a lot of development over brick sewers and kind of aging infrastructure. So we're certainly aging by the standard of central Iowa and by most of Iowa, but compared with New Orleans or San Antonio or Key West, we'd be very young. It's all pretty relative.
Oh, okay. So I do want to ask, is there any hope or immediate future in terms of updating our sewer system?
There's lots of hope and lots of expense, unfortunately, in doing that. We have gone through a process really of spending about $50 million in the last 4 or 5 years on work that's very disruptive. People who live, as an example, near the old art store, MLK and Woodland, MLK and High area, are familiar with the kind of projects that we're involved in, or the Union Park area here in Des Moines, that are intended to take a combined system and break them up into two pieces. But they're very troublesome to people who want to use streets and use their driveway approaches. We've spent about $50 million to do that. We're going to spend another $200 million or so in the next 13 or 14 years to do exactly that kind of work throughout particularly the center core of the city. Very important work to do because it's flood control in the sense that things that normally would go into a combined system and maybe in a high rain event come back into people's basements now won't. They'll be separated out, but most of all, more important probably than the flood mitigation piece of that is it's better water quality. We'll have less sewage discharge into the Des Moines rivers or into the Raccoon River, either of which are very detrimental, obviously, to water quality. The Des Moines and Raccoon weren't intended to host human sewerage, so we'll be working very hard with federal and state regulators and local contractors to spend $200 million plus to make our system a better one, make the water quality here in central Iowa a lot better.
Okay. Along those lines, I was wondering, and this is my question that I made.
Excellent. That's one I'll have to answer.
Do you drink out of the tap?
Do I drink out of the tap? I do, in fact. I prefer to drink out of the tap rather than bottled water simply because I know the environmental impacts of the waste generated by throwing away this plastic bottle. Even if it's recycled, there's a significant slippage in my view. So I do. I drink Des Moines water on a regular basis. You and I have lived places in the United States where the norm is not to drink out of the tap. New Orleans, a city you and I are both familiar with. I don't think I ever drank out of the tap there unless it was to wash my mouth out, certainly not to swallow it. But here in Des Moines, I regularly drink Des Moines Water Works water. They spend a lot of money to take nitrates and some other pollutants out of it. I think it's very safe and very good tasting water, actually. But yeah, I drink directly out of the tap on a daily basis.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Mr. Stowe graduated from Grinnell College with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. In addition, he obtained a Master of Science in Engineering from the University of Wisconsin and a Master of Science in Industrial Relations from the University of Illinois and a Juris Doctorate from Loyola University Law School in New Orleans. That's a fascinating background in terms of education.
You may find it fascinating. I think my parents find it troubling. I never could quite decide what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be, which is probably indicative of where I still am in life. I had the benefit of really good schools and a supportive family who encouraged me to go to college at a good time in each of those schools.
Okay.
And it probably was a work avoidance issue for me throughout some period of my life, at least. There were great schools to attend, great faculty, great students, and a lot of great communities. Madison, as an example, is a really beautiful city. New Orleans, a beautiful city. So I probably have more school than I would be able to leverage into real knowledge, but I had a great time, and I'm very thankful to my parents in particular for supporting me and encouraging me to get a good education and then try to apply it professionally. And obviously I'm at a point in my life where I hope I'm able to take at least pieces of that and apply it constructively in my professional vocation.
Oh, okay, because I was actually wondering if you had been searching for something specific with each time that you entered a new program.
You know what, I would say no. I started with a liberal arts education at Grinnell College, which is kind of a liberal arts mecca, if you will, and came out of that not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I ended up then going to graduate school, got a couple graduate degrees, and a law school. I enjoyed each of those experiences. If I were to go back to being 18 again, I'm not sure I would plot it quite the same way, but I very much enjoyed it. And in each of those degrees, I certainly learned something and got a great life experience that a lot of people don't have the luxury of being able to experience. Enjoyed it very much. I really am at an intersection in what I do professionally between the law and regulation, government regulation in particular on the environmental and safety side, as well as science. The engineering background and my own experiences certainly helped me to put law and science together to do things like try to improve water quality, to try and provide an infrastructure system that's helpful for you and I when we want to drive around town, when we want to get from point A from point B. And so all those pieces probably fit together, but they don't fit together probably as efficiently and effectively if somebody who really was able to plan and really able to have the discipline to know when they're 18 what they wanted to do when they were 51.